My great-great-grandmother, Martha Emanuela Preismann, was born in Austria in 1876. Martha was a countess in Austria, but left those riches behind as European unrest leading up to World War I was growing. She was 14 years old when she ran away from home, secretly stowing aboard a ship bound for Australia. She arrived in 1890 in Queensland. She married Gustav Adolf Wilhelm Stolzno in 1902. Gustav's parents were migrants from Bulgaria. His parents came to Australia, escaping the Bulgarian War of Independence. Gustav and Martha had two children, Marjorie Sybil Stolzno, my great-grandmother, and Vivian Trevor Stolzno. In 1927, Marjorie gave birth to my grandfather, Zacharias Michael Stolzno, on the 7th of December. Zach went to school until he was 14 years old. Once he finished school, he went to work at his uncle's bakery, Birch's Bakery on Castlereagh Street. At the bakery, Zach started an apprenticeship as a pastry chef. However, his uncle had to sell the bakery, and Zach had to look for another place to finish his apprenticeship at. This was in 1947, and Zach was 20 years old. World War II had come to an end with the signing of the German Instrument of Surrender in 1945. Australia had a dire shortage of labour for all industries, both during and after the war. In January 1942, the government formed the Directorate of Manpower to oversee the composition and direction of Australia's workforce. Zach was sent by Manpower to the Adams Hotel on George Street in 1948. Zach, being a trained baker and pastry chef, was asked by Manpower if he could work on the grill. My grandfather, being the sort of man that he was, said that he could, despite his lack of training. Zach was cooking on the grill just like any other day when a beautiful lady walked in. My Nana's parents were also from a European descent. My great-great-grandparents, Paul Gerard Ben and Margaret Adam, were born in Hamburg, Germany in 1865. It is not sure why they came to Australia. Perhaps it was the threat of World War I, or just that Australia offered the chance of a new life. Paul and Margaret had a son, Norman James Ben. Norman was born in 1905 and lived on a dairy farm in Auburn with his family. In 1925, Norman married Doris Alma Starr. Norman and Doris had two children. My Nana, Betty Joan Ben, was born on the 30th of January 1927, and her little brother Norman was born in 1932. My Nana went to school until she was 14 years old at Auburn Domestic Science School. Sadly, when my Nan was 10 years old, her father Norman died at the age of 32. He contracted pneumonia, and 3 days later he died as the doctors didn't know how to treat it. After this, my Nan spent a lot of time helping out her mother around the house. When my Nan was 16 years old, Manpower called her and said that she had to go in for an interview. Most people were being sent to factories as that was where the labour was needed, so my Nan was sent to a fruit tinning factory. My Nan, being only 16 years old, was in her words a dot of a thing, so the work set for her was very dangerous. A nice lady at the factory and my great-grandmother took my Nan back to Manpower and asked to be sent somewhere else. Working at cafes and restaurants was usually reserved for women 60 years and over, but the lady at Manpower took one look at my Nan and sent her to the Adams Hotel. Nan worked at the Adams Hotel for 4 years until she tried to resign. Manpower wouldn't let her resign, but they said that she could take some time off to go home and help her mother out. Nan was home for a few days when she got a call from one of the ladies at Adams Hotel telling her that a gorgeous young man had just started working there and that she had to come in and meet him. This is where our two stories come together. I hand it over to my beautiful Nan to tell you the rest.
He said to me, well, I'm going to marry you, so I suppose, I don't know whether you've got to tell your mother and she's, you've got to wait a few days or something like that. But tell your mother we're getting married. And he was 20.
And how long had you known him when he told you that?
About half a day.
What did you think when you first saw Zach at Adams Hotel?
I thought he was the best looking man I've ever seen in my life.
So what made you decide to marry Zach? Why did you say yes?
To shut him up, I think. No, you could just tell by talking to him that he was one in a million. He was just, I'd never met anyone like him, and he just, very unusual is the word I could use for Zach, I think.
And how is marriage?
Perfect.
We unfortunately lost my grandfather in 2012. We all love him and miss him dearly.